This was a familiar place for Kendra Page, who was just days away from her 8th birthday. The elementary school in Austin, Texas was not only where Kendra would spend her weekdays in class, it was also a place where she would meet up with her young friends.
She had a lot of good friends at school.
But what happened to Kendra was something so awful. Her sister, Tracy Page, still struggles to understand.
Her friend called and asked her if she could go bike riding with her. That was the last time we saw her alive.
Kendra's lifeless body was found in a dumpster at the school in 1982. Police say that she was strangled with a coat hanger, sexually assaulted, and dumped at the school. Tracy says her sister's murder has haunted her family for decades.
I couldn't get over that she was gone, that he had taken her.
A crime so brutal, so unthinkable, that it still infuriates the detective who worked the case all those years ago.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Young Kendra was taken while out riding her bike and killed by this man, Raul Meza, who was living nearby. Kendra's family arrived at the horrific scene.
I saw my two brothers. All I heard was my mom scream.
I don't think it was a crime of opportunity. I think he was out looking for her. This is a desire, a sick desire he has in him.
Former homicide investigator and law enforcement analyst Luis Bolaños says he learned about Kendra's case because even though Meza admitted his crime and was locked in prison for Kendra's murder, she wouldn't be his last victim. Far from it, leaving many more families devastated.
I got involved because their voices were not being heard and their voices were not being respected.
Because rather than go to trial, Raul Meza was offered a plea deal for Kendra's murder. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison with the possibility of parole.
The fact that a district attorney at the time took a plea of 30 years was completely unprecedented.
The plea deal took former Austin Police Detective Bruce Mills by surprise. He says Meza was already convicted of a previous shooting and feels that the heinous way in which he killed Kendra should have kept him behind bars forever.
We were shocked, disappointed, with no really explanation as to why this case didn't go to trial. We never really got solid answers on that.
At the time, Travis County prosecutors said they didn't believe their case was strong enough to get a conviction.
My parents knew, my brothers and sisters knew how sick he was because of what he did to my sister and how he did everything to her. An 8-year-old little girl, defenseless, couldn't even defend herself.
Despite the plea deal, Kendra's family did everything they could to keep him in a Texas prison.
I remember writing letters when I got older to the parole board, asking them to keep him in there.
But despite their constant warnings, Raul Meza was let out after only 11 years. You heard that right, 11 years for the brutal murder of an 8-year-old.
I was shocked, hurt, mad, angry. I just told them, and my dad told them from the very beginning, this man is a dangerous man, that he did not need to be let out.
To serve 11 of that for good behavior was even more unprecedented. Travesty of justice.
With this miscarriage of justice, Tracy Page is hugging someone she wishes she didn't know. Christina Fultz came into Tracy's life after a call Raul Meza made to Austin detectives while he was out of jail.
I got out and tried to do the best I could. I ended up murdering a lady.
Meza confessed to killing Gloria Lofton, Christina Fultz's mother.
Did police tell you how she died?
No, she just said that she was found in her room on the bed.
But you didn't think she was murdered?
No, of course not.
Christina had just connected with her biological mother after being adopted when she was born. She also learned that Gloria lived a hard life and was a regular smoker. So they thought she may have died of natural causes. But when Christina and her sister went to the home after their mother was removed, they say they saw immediately she was murdered.
We were both staring at this room, not understanding what we're looking at, and she gave the worst howl of the scream. Like, I have never heard anybody scream.
Their fears realized after Meza confessed to Gloria's murder that was originally classified as undetermined, made worse when detectives would soon learn the killer wasn't finished.
The caller stated, "My name is Raul Meza, and you're looking for me."
It was a call that Austin detectives were not expecting.
If you need help, we can help you. I don't need no help. I'm beyond help.
You're listening to the voice of Raul Meza, the man convicted of killing 8-year-old Kendra Page, released after serving only 11 years of a 30-year sentence, talking to homicide detectives.
I just heard it click, so did y'all just identify my location?
A call obtained by True Crime News of the man freed for good behavior, only to be arrested again for parole violations and released once again, now admitting to being a serial killer.
I shot him in the gut and walked away. And the other guy came around, I shot him too.
Talking to an Austin detective confessing to murder after murder.
Where might we find you?
In Austin, I guess.
In Austin?
Yeah.
It was a big city.
Yeah, well, you'll come across me one day, I guess.
The convicted murderer admitting to killing Gloria Lofton, who lived close to where he was living.
He admitted he had killed a lady off of Sarah Drive.
No one forced him to make this call.
No, and he said a lot of incriminating things that only the family we would know.
During the same call, he also says he killed Jesse Fraga, an 80-year-old man in the Austin suburbs who had taken Meza in as a roommate because Meza had apparently fallen on hard times.
This one happened with Jesse Fraga.
Okay, so you had an incident recently with Jesse Fraga.
Yes.
Jesse Fraga's nephew spoke with a reporter from Fox 7 Austin. He says Jesse was a father figure to him, someone who was always looking out for others and lending a helping hand.
His big heart may have gotten him into trouble.
Austin police say Jesse's body was found when his family called for a welfare check after they hadn't heard from him in over a week.
A belt had been found around the neck of Mr. Fraga, and the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office noted that Mr. Fraga had suffered a puncture wound through his neck and severed cervical spine.
5 days after making the call, police traced his location and tracked Meza down near a local hotel.
I strongly believe if it wasn't for the phone call that Raul Meza placed to law enforcement in Austin, Texas, none of these connections would have ever been made.
Luis Bolaños says Raul Meza's murder spree should have been stopped earlier, that Austin detectives had missed some key evidence connecting him to Gloria's death, like an odd note the sisters found shortly after her death.
Gloria Lofton left a clear message in a notebook. She wrote down Raul Meza Jr.'s name in that notebook. Later to be determined, her killer.
Yeah, that notebook was key.
It didn't make sense for a very long time. Looking back at it, it's everything.
Raul Meza's DNA was also found on Gloria Lofton, but shockingly, an email sent from the forensic lab to Austin detectives with the results was never opened.
Their protocol for informing the investigator was to send him an email. And that's the email that was buried forever.
After pleading guilty, Raul Meza was sentenced to life in prison without parole for the murders of Gloria Lofton and Jesse Fraga. Families telling me they believe it wasn't enough.
In your eyes, what would justice have been?
Oh, in my eyes, he should definitely have the death penalty.
But the families of Kendra Page and Gloria Lofton tell me they aren't done fighting for families who may have been victimized by the serial killer.
How many more family members are out there that don't have closure, that don't know what happened to their loved ones?
Because police are still investigating more of his claims, including one outside of a convenience store.
2 guys approached me and they were messing with me. But I went in there to basically get my weapon ready, and I went out there and I shot him.
Now we have between 8 and 10 cases that kind of fit the similar circumstances that we're looking at, but that could obviously grow.
Tracy Page says she's struggled with her sister's violent murder her entire life and is ready to help the families of others who may have died at the hands of Raul Meza.
We're here to help y'all get justice for your family because we never did.